In health and disease, our major goal is how do cells secrete molecules that influence other cells in a good way or a bad way. Exosomes collectively are a very powerful way, a new way of thinking how cells communicate long distance.
So when we're talking about exosomes, we're talking about really small bubbles that are released from cells.
It's much smaller than a bacterium, for example.
And you know that they are only about 100 nanometers in size, which is about 1/1,000,000th of the size of a hair.
Exosomes are blebs that are released from cells, and they end up outside of the cells and can be isolated from the liquid.
It's been found in all mammalian cells that have been looked at. One of the problems with exosomes is that they're very heterogeneous. There's very different kinds of vesicles, and it's been difficult to come with a definition that encompasses all the different types of vesicles.
If you want to kind of envision what we're dealing with here, I guess maybe you should see Manhattan as one big organism with all these different cells. Every building is a cell, and then how do all these buildings, how do they communicate with each other? And that's through these small objects that are running around through these streets. When you look here from the 28th floor, you see all these taxis driving around, and but they're so small you can hardly see them. And I guess when you go really downstairs, perhaps when you take a big microscope, and all of a sudden you see that a taxi is much more complex than just a yellow dot. Actually, there's a lot of things going on in there.
Exosomes are supposed to be very powerful mediators. They carry all the signaling and the machinery necessary to go and change the behavior of a neighboring cell.
There is genetic information in these vesicles, meaning that they're not just getting to these vesicles, but when these vesicles get taken up by other cells, that they have a biological activity.
Our cells produce large numbers of different small RNAs. They're called microRNAs, and they regulate about half of all the genes expressed in our cells.
Now, we did find RNA in the exosomes probably around 7 years ago.
The major question in the field is, do cells communicate with other cells in the body by secreting exosomes carrying these microRNAs and then affect the metabolism in other cells?
Only 5 years ago, the principles of communication in the body were either hormones or immunology or neurology. And now we found another way of communicating and sending genetic signals between cells.